We flew all over the lunar surface. We even forgot to have dinner. Following protocol to the letter, whenever we changed the coordinates for the autopilot, we contacted the controller at the lunar capital to let them know. After a while, the controller's responses to our frequent destination changes became more passive, and eventually, so did our reports. This was a measure set in place to keep anyone from straying off course, as the lunar surface didn't really have a concept of airspace. Thus, it was impossible for us to go off course. We were heading straight for our destination. Not a single one of the generators they talked about publicly even exists. What a mockery they're making. What's amazing is that no one even came to check in person. I'm sure someone came at the beginning, but I'm sure they were told it was a work in progress and eventually stopped coming because they figured no one would be that brazen. In truth, nobody would actually believe them. Even with pictures, it'd only be about halfway. That's right. Who would believe that a massive, highly reputable corporation would publicly list non-existent generators as assets? Well, there were examples of that happening on Terra if you dig back far enough, indeed there are. But nah, it couldn't be. That's what they'd think. I continued pointing my recording device out the window as Eleanor punched in the different destinations while reading off Avalon's data. We ended up flying around until we were nearly out of fuel, and the clock read 11 p.m. Lunar City time when we arrived at the way station. As resupplying and refueling took place, we got to work on the large counter on the second floor of the way station. The wall-to-ceiling glass made it feel like working in midair, but that no longer bothered Eleanor. The ship wasn't the only thing that needed refueling, so we had some of the food Eleanor had brought along. Though, as you might guess, it was all sandwiches. A dish invented by a game-loving Earl, so you wouldn't have to stop playing. Nothing would be more fitting for the scene. When I asked Eleanor if she expected things to turn out this way, she responded, "That's a secret." It's only a quick calculation, but just by confirming this, it looks like their profits are actually 18 billion less. So that'd mean their maximum can only be 35 billion, so they'd be short 5 billion currently. Yes, however, it's likely that number is meaningless. Meaningless? Speaking from experience, companies doing things like this are always doing everything else the same way. Worst case scenario, they might not have a single generator installed. Couldn't be. It could. Look at this. Eleanor said that as she gazed at the document spread out over the desk. Looking at her in profile, it was hard to imagine that this was the same girl who'd been brought to tears just from the fear of looking outside. This is the extracted data with Avalon's name in it, but a number of them are those which Avalon had owned in the past. I looked over the displayed data. The column for the latest owner was different. What really surprised me, though, was just how much data Eleanor was showing me. Have a look. Avalon has repeatedly bought and sold their power stations among a certain number of dedicated companies. What? But this is... Exactly. Those companies in Avalon are buying and selling the power stations that should have been on the land we looked at. 4 points like that of a square. I felt the same sort of unsettling sensation I might upon hearing those words. When I looked at Eleanor, she grinned. It's a classic trick. Say there are two stores, Store A and Store B, that sell curios which no one knows the true value of. However, each store's sales start to slack off and they don't want their families to know. So the owners of both stores come up with an idea. Store A sells vases it acquires for 10 moles to Store B for 100 moles. In exchange, Store B sells paints it acquired for 10 moles to Store A for 100 moles. The amount of money in their respective registers doesn't change, but their ledgers show a 90 mole profit each time, win-win. Now, the problem with what she's actually saying is the whole tax aspect. So, while the money in the register may look the same, when you factor in taxes, they're actually going to lose. So in order for that to work, they actually have to commit tax evasion on top of the other crimes they're already committing. You're saying that's what Avalon is doing. Exactly. Plus, after the first dilution, the next one must be done on a larger scale. Because of that, they were likely forced to procure this much land. I'm not angry so much, shocked and surprised. It's so bold and such an old trick. Eleanor sighed. But this is damning evidence, right? When I said that, Eleanor took a deep breath. Her expression was harder than I imagined. It could be enough to start with an accusation. That's a very cautious way of saying it. Truthfully, working with just this would be rather difficult. Huh? I'd imagine the depravities they were involved in were more minute and stacked together, but for this, I'll need to involve an auditor. They are likely putting out slightly confusing numbers so as to keep things from falling apart. That's probably why they're still holding together. Corporations must show their financial statements to a third party and get formal evaluations. People who did those evaluations were called auditors, meaning the ones that should be performing checks on the legitimacy of their financial statements are lending aid to the frauds. Investment bank analysts aren't the only ones involved in the profit reciprocity. The auditors assigned by accounting firms to check companies' account settlements receive money from those companies to perform the check. How many people could actually live with themselves while these companies are laying down 10 million mule payments? This is how things go on Schrodinger Street. It's a den of evil. Some days, someone must clean it out. Eleanor spoke proudly as one who listened to her conscience. If she'd given up, she certainly wouldn't be saying it like that. In stocks, it could be truly painful to not bow out when things get tough. There was no way to know what the future held. She mustered up all her courage to look outside when she was on that ship, when it was highly probable that there would have been rows and rows sprayed out in front of her, just as there had been on paper. But Eleanor endured. She won the gamble. If she hadn't shown that pride clearly, what would we have done? It doesn't change, however, the importance of the reality of the generators. Eleanor straightened up like Susie Wu, sticking her chest out and looking over the documents and data with something approaching a scowl. If they are lying here, then it means they are lying in other areas as well. They could get away with one of their lies pointed out, but cornering them with multiple lies could be possible. What's important is that Avalon is... Eleanor may have gotten herself too worked up as she spoke, because she began speaking tearfully and sniffled. Wiping her eyes with her wrists, she looked at me and smiled, embarrassed. That Avalon is rightfully an enemy. With this, Eleanor wiped her eyes with a handkerchief, took a deep breath, then burst into a smile. I can endure anything that comes. I'm going to bite down and not ever let go. That smile showed her hubris. But if I looked in a mirror from 4 years ago, I would still see the same smile. Purpose, conviction, tenacity, and willpower were all there. Eleanor was fine. Haru. Eleanor looked over this way. Thank you. I took the hand she extended toward me. It was warm, strong, and firm. Well, either way, the real battle begins. That's true. Then shall we prepare for tomorrow and sleep? The date has already changed over. What? Eleanor looked down at her watch. When did this happen? Or would this normally be about when you get up for work? You're right, albeit dependent on the day. After thinking a bit, Eleanor spoke. From the look of her lifestyle, she really didn't have that firm a grasp on time. But yes, let's sleep. Today I feel I can sleep very, very well. Eleanor said that with a soft smile. Let's at least take care of these. We've no idea who may come. That's true. Thus, Eleanor and I tidied up what was on the large desk and made our way to the ship. But as the recharging of the ship hadn't been completed yet, we both sat down on the bench in front of the large display. Having nothing to really talk about, we gazed at the muted display. On it was the commotion in front of Avalon's headquarters as usual. It was night now, which just went to show how intense the demonstration was. Amongst them were those striking at the core like Eleanor. It seemed possible to actually defeat Avalon. The truth in that it made it feel like this was some sort of dream. No, it was actually a dream. Eleanor had seen it, an extraordinary dream. From the corner of my eye, I found myself drawn to the face of the dreamer of that extraordinary dream as she watched the events unfold. I was struck on the shoulder and rattled as though my evil deeds had been detected. But it wasn't a hit on the shoulder. Eleanor's head had leaned against me as she fell asleep. She breathed softly and apparently sleeping soundly. It wasn't the same pained breathing and irregular sleep I had seen at the regular Central Hotel. Now that all the tension had been relieved, her built-up exhaustion could have come out all at once. Eleanor's cheek on my shoulder, her body against my arm, her body temperature elevated like that of a child. I placed my hand over Eleanor's relaxed hand. It was possible to move forward. I was truly grateful to Eleanor for that. That eagerness may have manifested slightly through my hand. Eleanor gave a small groan, suddenly waking up. It seemed she realized her head was leaning on my shoulder because she tried to lift her head up, but she wasn't able to regain consciousness fully and almost fell asleep again. She got up hastily. My apologies. Not at all. I said that as I sat next to Eleanor, giving a small shrug. I slowly lifted my hand from Eleanor's. This isn't the first time you've passed out. Eleanor looked at me with a displeased expression when I said that thoughtlessly. You truly are mean. I'm still a child. My. Eleanor said that aghast, then stretched out the hem of her skirt with one hand and combed through her hair with her fingers. Are the ship preparations finished yet? Just a bit longer, it looks like. When I answered, Eleanor looked over towards the docking platform entryway and gave a small sigh. Then, after giving a big yawn, she elegantly rubbed her eyes with the palm of her hand. Why not go to sleep? I'll wake you up. No, I can stay awake. If I were to sleep now, I'm almost certain I wouldn't be able to wake up. I'll carry you. I flail around. I'm sure your arms can take it. I see. When I shrugged, Eleanor giggled. Then she ended her laugh with a small sigh. Would you mind if I were to lean against you a bit? When I looked at Eleanor out of the corner of my eye, she looked away. Only until my contract is up. My. Eleanor looked at me and smiled wryly. Then I shall as I please. Saying this, she leaned on my shoulder again. She gave off a sweet, perfume-like smell. Haru? Eleanor spoke up again abruptly. I do have something to ask of you. What could it be? Can I hold your hand? Only until your contract is up, of course. I glanced over at Eleanor when she said that, but her head leaning on my shoulder made it so I couldn't see her expression. That was probably on purpose. Without answering, I hesitated slightly as I placed my hand over Eleanor's. Eleanor's hand moved slightly as if jostled, but soon stopped as if it seemingly found a comfortable position in mind. A girl who had fought all by herself all this time. Her hand was warm. I put my cheek against Eleanor's head as it rested on top of my shoulder. I thought nothing of it. It just felt right. Eleanor squirmed a bit, then soon relaxed. A vacant, quiet lobby sticking up in the middle of the lunar surface. Eleanor's hand moved awkwardly in my hand, her fingers lacing between mine. I could tell very clearly she was quivering. Damn, I'm just making a lot of mistakes all of a sudden. Although I did start off to a rough start here. I could tell very clearly she had mustered up her courage. I felt a bit uncertain, but that was because I had something difficult of my own to fight against. I hadn't forgotten about Hagana. But Eleanor was here now, burying herself before me. I returned the squeeze from Eleanor's hand. It was at that moment our bodies moved in unison to meet each other's gaze. Our eyes probably moved in the same direction at the same time. It wasn't as though someone had just shown up tactlessly. It had always been there, just not in our field of vision. Our sight was stolen away by what was being displayed up on the monitor. Susie Wu? When I whispered that, Eleanor's body shot up like a bullet, and she bolted to turn up the volume control for the monitor attached to the bench. Gradually, it felt as if the world had all become one again as the reporter's voice became clearer. We repeat again. Popular analyst Susie Wu, currently with Platinum Smith, is under investigation by the Securities and Exchange Commission for violations of securities and exchange laws. Neither of us could move upon hearing those words. Susie Wu's face displayed on the monitor had been facing us all this time. The Securities and Exchange Commission had? Under suspicion of securities and exchange laws? Why was this happening? Eleanor stood staring at the screen and was also shocked. It appeared she knew exactly what she should be doing. She reached over the tablet laid amongst the books and paperwork, tapping on a number and calling someone. On the tablet appeared the words Platinum Smith Executive Room. This is Susie Wu. Connect me with Alan Remnick. Miss Susie Wu? Please wait a moment. It was difficult to tell whether the voice from the tablet was an artificial recording or a flesh-and-blood human being. I suppose that'd be what you expect from an unsleeping financial giant at this time of day. The dial tone had barely sounded when the call was connected. It's me. I saw the TV. Exactly what is... Wait. On that word, the call was suddenly ended. Eleanor was typing on the tablet again, about to call back when she received an incoming call from somewhere. When Eleanor pressed the accept button, a middle-aged man's voice could be heard directly. "It's me. All phone conversations in the company are recorded." "What exactly?" "You stepped on the tail." "Huh?" "You stepped on the tail. You're trying to peek behind the wizard's curtain. Am I wrong?" It was a rather roundabout way of saying it, and it also made me feel something rather disturbing. Plus, he hung up and called back because they were being recorded. Investigated under suspicion of securities and exchange law violations. Those words dug in like an embracing chill on the heart. What exactly does... We received that statement for a report, but the specific violation wasn't filled in, meaning there was a possibility it was for something nobody desired. No, that doesn't matter at all. Only the truth matters. Susie Wu has been singled out, and the Security and Exchange Commission took action, suspected of violating securities and exchange laws. According to the documents sent to the company, Susie Wu had opened an account at Harold Broth, advertising stocks by herself, profiting from those illegal trades through her personal account. Quite the villain. The tone of the caller's voice had no indication of mockery. Rather, it sounded slightly angry. But it wasn't that they imagined Eleanor was doing such a thing. Plus, the newsflash said Susie Wu had opened an account. Susie Wu wasn't a real person. There was no way she could open an account, but that might not matter to Harold Broth. So in case you're wondering what this means, some places, I don't know if this is global or not, but you need a social security number to open a bank account, at least in some places. I don't really know where all it is. Cayman Islands, I imagine kind of anything goes, but since Susie Wu is not real, she doesn't have one, so therefore she can't open an account. This is actually kind of famous for an obscure case in U.S. history where a pig obtained a social security number and all of a sudden started collecting all these entitlements like welfare and disability and stuff, and it's a funny story on how the system fails at times. If you're curious, you can Google it. I'm pretty sure you'll find the story if you just Google pig with a social security number or something along those lines. It was Iceman's company, the one that had trapped Eleanor's, and since it was the company Avalon uses, Eleanor's face was devoid of emotion, not once, but twice. The wizards getting pretty nervous, being held back with recent events. Thus, they took notice when Susie Wu, having not budged an inch during the whole thing, made her move. She probably had a loyal follower of the wizard in her midst. It was a productive way of saying one of Eleanor's subordinates received funds secretly from Avalon. What was Susie Wu really researching? Avalon, being wounded already, certainly would be cautious about it. They certainly would look suspiciously at any analysts who didn't wag their tails at them. Thus, even if Susie Wu herself had a will of iron, if her subordinates were given enough money, they'd certainly dish out information. Of course, we've no idea if what's being reported has any truth behind it. This will be up for the Securities and Exchange Commission to look into, but this story has been fed to the media. She's done. He spoke as if talking about someone else. The inner workings of a huge investment bank, constantly in a state of political turmoil. Those who resided in the executive office were cunning beasts. Susie Wu has earned us quite a lot, but our company cannot keep individuals who perform offenses in our midst. I mean, the company had no intention of protecting her. But Eleanor didn't hold her tongue. Have you no shame? No matter how much you're gaining from handling fees, it's just... You must be one of Susie Wu's loyal fans. However, Platinum Smith is the largest investment bank. Even without Susie Wu, getting a contract with a wizard shouldn't be hard. She sure did do well. But well, were she to be fired because of this incident, she certainly would have no reason to come back to the sector. She could certainly earn quite a bit writing an autobiographical account of this. Autobiographical. Eleanor was choked up. This was an obvious threat. They were threatening to expose Eleanor's identity as Susie Wu if she tried to come back. It was likely that, in exchange for Platinum Smith wiping out Susie Wu, who was inconveniently investigating Avalon, they struck a deal to undertake a vast amount of handling fees for work. Everything was set in terms of money. What was trying to crush Eleanor's dream was piles of money and nothing more. Well, when other people see what happened to Susie Wu, they'll certainly have a change of heart. They want corruption wiped from the sector. And with that, he ended the call. She had no chance to shed tears or get angry. The tablet dropped onto her lap as if it had molted off her. She was in shock. Avalon had probably bribed the Securities and Exchange Commission as well. They said that every year over 10,000 cases were brought in, with only 10 being investigated and none found guilty. In this situation, the only way they'd be moving like greased lightning was if financial pressure was applied. Avalon knew who they were. They knew exactly how scarred their shanks were. So they were coming through to erase the sources thoroughly. Organizations whose incomes match the net worth of entire nations do that sort of thing. I took Eleanor's hand, which was as limp as an empty shell. Eleanor's body shot up, expression returned to her face. But that was out of confusion and not out of anger. It's fine. Justice is on our side. I said that and Eleanor nodded. Avalon made their move because they were, without a doubt, a fraudulent corporation. Yet perhaps because of the vastness of the lobby, my words seemed to echo flatly. The moon was a melting pot of evil. The justice of a single person was swallowed up so easily. Eleanor and I returned to the ship after preparations were finished. Eleanor, still petrified, lay down as if overtaken by illness. I stayed by her side, holding her hand, until she fell asleep. But the reason for this was completely different from my reasons just moments ago. The monitors were ablaze with news about the popular analyst's corruption. Justice was on our side. It should have been. Thinking this, I left Eleanor, who was sleeping as though she'd fainted, and closed the bedroom door behind me. The ship arrived at the port on schedule at around 8 a.m., but Eleanor's face remained stiff the entire time. The TV was buzzing like a prodded beehive with news of Susie Wu. It was even on the large monitors in the airport where parents who looked like they might have been bought up by the analyst's recommended brands watched the news, their faces betraying that they had no idea who they should be angry at. On the bright side, Eleanor hadn't been outed as Susie Wu, so we weren't swarmed by reporters when we arrived. Instead, Legoff and Marco had come. Eleanor's expression suddenly softened seeing Marco, and she asked him how school went. Marco looked like he might burst into tears at any moment as Eleanor patted his head with his hat still on it. Madam, as reported, the hotel reservation has been cancelled. Eleanor stood up, nodding. My belongings? Everything has been sent over to your manor. Manor, yes. She spoke abruptly, then sighed. Haru? Yes. That little pause could have been because I was afraid of what was going to be said afterwards. Thank you for everything. Then she lowered her head as though taking a breath, and raised it again, forcing a smile. Someday I shall surely repay you. Leaving me with those words, Eleanor took Marco and Legoff along with her, turning her back to me as she walked away. I recalled the conversation we had at the crack of dawn inside the ship as we arrived at the crossroads to the Lunar City. It's likely this time it's really over. Eleanor said that without any expression on her face. But corruption is corruption. If we announce this, then certainly. She silenced my argument with her gaze. That's how listless her eyes were. Even if we were to bring it to the police or judicial department, it'd just get tacked onto the end of the long investigation backlog list. I chose to become Susie Wu because I was certain they'd be useless. Eleanor looked at the hand holding hers and said, when Avalon published their corporate bonds at 20 billion moles, they were much more serious than I imagined. Just as we went to the ends of the moon, they were intent on tipping the scales of justice with that money. No matter what, this is the end. Susie Wu is dead. Eleanor then smiled weakly. Because of you, I was able to go places I'd never been able to go alone, and my astrophobia appears to have been cured, also. She paused there, quietly resting her head on my collarbone, and then spoke. For the first time in ages, I slept peacefully, even if it was for but a moment. That was when we were waiting in the lobby. Eleanor looked up at me and smiled, somewhat embarrassed. I said nothing. I could say nothing. After what Avalon, Platinum Smith, and Harold Broth had all done, Eleanor had no idea whose help to seek. I couldn't imagine how one could face down huge corporations wielding vast amounts of capital and doing what they had done. It wasn't a feeling of weightlessness. It was one of helplessness. That's when I realized that Eleanor's dream was many times, dozens of times, larger than I could even imagine. We ended up being pushed all the way back to the starting line. But hadn't we gained something? If I hadn't believed that, I would have probably crumbled to my knees at that point. Welcome home. Chris's greeting to me when I returned to the church was hesitant after she saw my face. I just gave a small nod, pulling out the chair from the table near the kitchen and sitting down. I didn't even have the energy to return to my own room. Susie Wu was dead, but Avalon lived on. I couldn't accept this absurdity. Chris looked over at me, cradling her tablet. I was certainly in no shape to socialize with Chris. Eleanor is... When Chris said that, I remember that she too knew that Eleanor was Susie Wu. She went home. Legoff and Marco are with her. I see. Chris said that, but didn't sit down. She looked rather awkward. Not going to the office today either? I asked her reluctantly. No, Legoff said today wouldn't be a good time. Well, that's true. Saying that, I closed my eyes and slouched forward. How could I help Eleanor? Of course, the best method would be to gather proof of Avalon's corruption and take it to the judicial system, really drive it in and force them to open an investigation. But I was well aware of how foolish that would be. For one, it'd be impossible for me to expose Avalon's corruption alone. Even after all of Eleanor's investigations, she still wasn't certain. Those empty generator plots had been a wild guess at best. I couldn't imagine anything that could squeeze out 40 billion moles either. Thinking about it, 40 billion is such an extraordinary sum, I don't even know what to do with it. Is Eleanor alright? Chris asked. It's fake, no matter how you look at it. Susie Wu isn't even a real person. But that doesn't matter at all, it seems. Tossing that information out to the media guarantees Susie Wu a public execution. What? Execution? It's Avalon. Saying that, I glared at an empty spot on the table. Remember I told you about the plan to sell short Avalon? We uncovered some negative factors, so they made the first move. That's about it. Incredible, isn't it? I had forgotten that companies I only knew the names and stock values of on the same side. I had forgotten that companies I only knew the names and stock values of are on the same scale as nations. Chris looked shocked, cradling her tablet in her arms. Then she spoke up as if doubting me. But... But does that mean it was going to go well? Well, yeah, we found information that hadn't been circulated in the stock market yet. But that wasn't enough. It didn't work. Chris took a deep breath when I said those words. Then at that moment she spoke up. Goodness, you're back, Haru? I turned around upon hearing Risa's voice. She was standing there with the Bible in her hands. Seemed she just finished her daily prayers in the sanctum. Risa. What is it? Goodness, that's quite a face. I need a little advice. I had no one to rely on but Risa. Was such absurdity acceptable? How did Risa deal with these enormous irrationalities? Did God truly exist in this world? I'm not sure what's troubling you. Please. I stood up from my chair and Risa looked over from me to Chris. I glanced over at Chris and spoke abruptly. Sorry, maybe later. Okay. Chris cradled her tablet, giving a sullen reply. When I sat on the long bench in the sanctum, Risa finally made her way over. She had 2 cups in her hands, both filled with hot cocoa. When I came back with such an awful expression on my face, you poured this for me, right? You called to tell me to pour it for her, though. Goodness, is that so? But you didn't draw me a bath. So you do remember. When I said that, Risa laughed deliberately, sitting next to me. Well then, what can your big sis do for you? Deliberately half closing her eyes, she pushed her body up closer to mine. 4 years ago, I would have thought this a little more than annoying teasing, but as I was, I felt like I could just bury myself in her arms. Does God truly exist? When I looked at Risa, she was just as she always was. The mischievous smile never left her face, and she took my words and gazed straight on. Then drinking her cocoa, she spoke. He does. But... Risa hastily supported the cup in my hand as I began speaking and became animated. The contents splashed up a bit, spilling over Risa's hand. Disregarding the heat, Risa took the cup from my hand and placed it on the front pew. Sorry, your hand. I'm fine, it's nothing. She said that, then licked it a bit. For you to have been pushed far enough into a corner that you'd ask such a thing, this is nothing at all. It was hard to believe those words so readily. They sounded more like an errant lie that rings well in one's ears. But I knew that Risa was serious. Risa never truly did become angry, even after I'd made her lose everything. But there is a God. If there's not, why would I crawl my way to the moon and wear the silly get-up? But the world doesn't make sense. Those seeking justice fall prey to traps, and only frauds get their way. How can there be a God? It's written in the Bible. Through him all things were made, and without him nothing was made that has been made. Not that childish crap. Haru, I'll get angry. I shrunk into my shoulders when Risa said that. I truly was a child in front of Risa. Risa smiled, deliberately placing her index finger on her lip and looking off to the side to show that she was thinking. It's true. He resides within us all. But I do understand what you're trying to say. In real life, he simply doesn't lend a hand to help us carry our heavy loads. Risa sipped her cocoa as she said that, her smile curling into a snide grin as she faced the cross on the far side of the sanctum. Of course, there are many ways to express one's faith, and everyone defines God in their own way. Saying that while wearing a nun's habit is seriously dangerous, though. Risa said that like she was joking, but I knew she was serious through and through. When I stared at Risa, she dropped her gaze back to me and smiled. There are those who awaken to their faith one day, and there are those who theoretically arrive at the existence of God. There are those who believe because others around them believed, as well as those who believe because they have something to gain. Well, in my case, I truly did meet God. Risa looked straight at me. Normally, if someone said that to me, I'd be doubting their insanity. But I had seen these eyes before. Eleanor. Also, 4 years ago in the mirror, reflected back at me. I don't mean I literally met a bearded old man. Not in that sense. It was more like a puzzle. Puzzle. There was a full picture, but a single piece from that puzzle was missing, and without that one piece, the whole thing would have just been a mess, irreparable and in pieces. But it didn't fall to pieces, nor did it become a mess. I couldn't believe it. At that time, I thought, oh, there really must be a God. Without that piece, things didn't make sense. Without a God, nothing could be made sense of. It's not luck. It's something otherworldly. I couldn't help but believe someone directed me here. I couldn't imagine something would just happen conveniently like that. But I couldn't imagine it could be anything other than God. God is always by your side, truly. Here was Risa, a Lunar City University graduate, more upstanding than anyone else, professing without a doubt that God existed. But the way she looked when she did so was wonderful, and I could only see her as a solid presence. This must be what they called faith. And I wear this, you see, because I thought maybe I could give a little bit of fortune to others, even those who would consider this irrational, by being a servant of God. Taking in runaways and helping those in trouble. That's why I'm on the moon. Here where no one cares for their fellow man. Wouldn't someone appearing and reaching out to you make you believe that there's a God? By doing that, I can feel the presence of God in others. So you see, Haru. Risa then put down her cup and embraced me. There was no fervor or affection, no reason or ulterior motive. She was just doing it because she felt she should be. It was an almost terrifying feeling of gratitude when I was on the receiving end. When you rush to the aid of one in need, they surely see that the Lord is on your side. That's why, even if you can't see him... Risa looked piercingly deep into my eyes. This is another very precious meaning of The Lord is always with you, that isn't said often. When Risa finished speaking, I noticed the church was oddly quiet. No, that wasn't it. That noise in my mind was gone. That something that was burdening me was gone. I looked at Risa. As Risa moved back, she took my right hand. That's why your right hand is so disgusting to you. What you regret the most is that you weren't able to save Hagana. It was that you didn't stay by her side up until the end. That's right. I was certainly physically close to her. But at the very end, while I was literally near her, my heart was far off elsewhere. That was why I tried to reach out to that bright haze. Then this time, are you certain as to what you need to do? Risa said that at the end, shaking my hand a little. As I looked at Risa, I let this slip out. You know. It's like you're really a nun or something, Risa. She stopped shaking my hand, slumping her head down, and gave a dry laugh. It's a bit infuriating for me, though. At least that's how I feel right now, because I can't solve all the problems. If you could solve everything, you'd be like a god. That's true. It's so overwhelming, there's no way I could do something like that. But Haru... Risa let go of my hand, then stretched forward to pick up the 2 cups, speaking as she was about to stand. Don't lose sight of what's really important. You know exactly how easily that falls apart, and exactly how hard it is to get it back after all. I nodded, slowly and earnestly, as Risa looked down at me. Yeah. Go then. It's cold, so bundle up. I'm not a child. No, but you're like one. Like how I'm a nun. I couldn't even grumble at that retort. Yet that felt unyieldingly comforting. I felt that Risa truly was a great, big, sisterly presence. There's one thing I'd like to ask, though. How much, and how far do you exactly know? Maybe she'd been hearing bits and pieces from Chris, and reasoning things out to come to a conclusion. But it was like she really could see through absolutely everything, so I needed to ask. Risa blinked, grinning menacingly, and said, Only God knows, I suppose. I was glad Risa was on my side. That in itself may have been enough to make me believe in a loving God. With that in mind, I rose from the bench, following Risa out of the sanctum. I left the luggage I didn't need in my room, taking only my tablet as I prepared to go out. Chris, cradling her tablet as she used it, looked up at me as I passed through the living room. Sorry, later, okay? That's all I said to Chris as I walked down the corridor to the front door. As I opened the door, Chris stood right in the middle of the living room and said, We really need to talk later, okay? It might have just been my imagination that she was speaking faintly. I nodded, raising a hand and slipped through the barely open door. The door closed with a slam as the cold outdoors pierced through my body. God is with us. I muttered that, walking down the chilly corridor with my cane. I didn't think Eleanor was living in the outer district. Making that estimation, I headed towards Noon City by train, making a call to Legoff. Legoff said something about Madame not receiving any visitors, but when I told him it was imperative I meet with her, he responded curtly that he would convey my message. Maybe he didn't want someone like me near her, but I felt something like helplessness emanating from Legoff. Eleanor had been swatted like a fly, and the one who did it was too powerful. Anyone who got swatted has to come to grips with their own insignificance. All one had to do was remember how that middle-aged anti-Avalon man looked during the company tour at Avalon headquarters. What he said wasn't far from the truth, and it represented the majority feeling. And yet he was made a laughingstock there. So powerless and out of place, it was embarrassing to even acknowledge his presence. The gathering in the stock market wasn't like a general goods store. It didn't focus on the wealth of the individual, and it could grasp at the very core of people's livelihoods. Maybe I got full of myself when I was told I could analyze the people behind the numbers. I couldn't comprehend the reality behind the sheer amounts of cash, and those words made me feel good. Even on the train, the news about Eleanor was showing on the monitors. Reporters and so-called experts were using panels as they put on triumphant airs and they explained Eleanor's profit reciprocity. But my heart felt oddly still. I couldn't even say I was angry at the guys on the other side of the screen. Instead, I only felt some sort of odd emotion about them bullying Susie Wu. It could be that money found its way to the media too. This was Avalon wanting to bear down on Susie Wu. Turning the eyes of the world toward her would mean everyone would be distracted from their company, causing the energy cost to increase. The same principle behind selecting stocks. There were many things you knew for certain that you couldn't remember unless you were reminded. Like tragedies and hotspots on Terra, or the protest being held in front of Avalon headquarters. If that wasn't what was going on, then I guess it's simply one girl against Avalon and Iceman, the man acting unjustly while in league with Avalon. But I had come to know Eleanor, and I'd taken her by the hand. I'd come this far. I couldn't just pretend I didn't see it. I couldn't pretend it never happened. I needed to move forward. Even when I realized there was no path onwards from here, I felt I should be by her side. I got off at the central station amidst the lingering sounds of the morning rush, then headed toward the exit Legoff told me to take. It led to the residential district in Clapton Square. It was a wide, gently sloping road with houseplants and even a miniature waterfall tank area. This was most certainly an upper-class apartment complex. All those headed towards the station were overflowed with confidence without a care in the world, the complete opposite of the mood in the Honor District. As I continued down, I ended up in a lobby with a reception desk, and Legoff was there. His clothes, which seemed to be from another era, didn't seem nearly as out of place here. "Madam, we'll see you now." I nodded silently. Legoff stood a bit in front of me, entering the automatic door beside the reception desk. We both continued down without speaking, riding toward an upper floor in an elevator that seemed more suited for a hotel. When we reached the 32nd floor, we were greeted by the sight of a large goldfish-filled pond and waterfall. The corridor was carpeted, of course, and chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Legoff continued down the corridor without hesitation, stopping in front of door 3215. Arrogantly, he looked down at me. A former private banker who even knew how much allowance Eleanor had. Him following Eleanor all the way to the moon as her guardian probably wasn't just a matter of him being duty-conscious. A lady and the old butler who protected her. It was like a European fairy tale playing out in front of me. There was history and tradition here. Legoff was truly the embodiment of that as he bowed deeply. "I leave madam to you. I am powerless." This was the moon, brimming with greed and intrigue, the hell on 3rd Street that even the Pope gave up on. I nodded and walked through the door Legoff opened. The first thing I noticed was the new home smell. The smell that brand new buildings give off, free of that lived-in feeling. There was just a pile of luggage. The cardboard boxes were stacked against the walls of the wide semicircular main entrance hall, reaching nearly to the 2nd floor railing. Cardboard boxes surrounded me on either side of the hallway. They were probably all carried in after Platinum Smith canceled the hotel reservation. Eleanor. I called out in the hushed hall, but no reply. I had no choice but to enter and continue onward. As it appeared to be a maisonette, I began by searching the 1st floor section of rooms. Dining hall, kitchen, a room that looked like a hotel rec room so big I couldn't imagine how long it went on for. The doors to all the rooms were wide open, emitting a brand new chemical smell. All the furniture seemed fixed in place. On the opposite side there was a bath and terrace. I could only sigh dejectedly at the bath, from which there was a view of the Newt City skyline. But of course, there was no sign of Eleanor. I made my way back to the entrance and went up to the 2nd floor section. Ascending the steps led to a long stretching hallway with rooms on either side. The structure was simple, but I grew tense. There was a vast amount of paper scattered down the hallway. Crumpled up, torn. They appeared to be written notes of some sort. Making my way over the carnage, I entered the one room with the door ajar. There before me was a recreation of the hotel room. No, it was much worse. Any cardboard box in reach was turned over, the contents spilled out into a mess. I can imagine the holes in the wall were likely from the chair that was now returned on the floor. And there, just as in the hallway, was a huge pile of shredded notes. It seemed any document she could get her hands on she'd torn to pieces. I looked over one of those sheets. It was in Eleanor's slightly stylized handwriting. Reading a bit of that made it felt as if something had clenched around my heart. That trail of shredded paper extended out to one corner of the wide room. And at the end, there was another door, also half opened. My heart thudded heavily as I held my breath and made my way over. Slowly, I opened the door, which led into a changing room attached to a bathroom. A single large sink, and a single large mirror. A vast amount of torn paper. I pressed forward without hesitation. I used my cane to push open the glass door, left slightly ajar, just in case. However, the large tiled bathroom wasn't splattered red. That relieved me a bit. I knew then that Eleanor was fine. But that was only because I could hear the faint sound of her sobbing. I entered the bathroom and approached the tub, careful not to slip on the torn paper, which was as plentiful as it was in Reese's church's living room. Within, Eleanor appeared tiny as she cradled her knees and wept. I looked down at Eleanor and said, "Didn't you say you were going to bite down and never let go?" Eleanor didn't react. I lightly poked the torn pages with my cane, speaking once again. "Eleanor, enough." Eleanor screamed without looking up. I looked down at Eleanor with my expressionless face. Man could never be perfectly rational. "What do you want me to do? Do you have a plan? Go ahead and say it." Eleanor looked up at me and glared. Her face was a mess from crying so much, her eyes and nose red. "Is there anything?" "There isn't, is there?" "Nothing." Then why did you let me in?" Eleanor pressed her lips together when I said that, looking like a little girl who'd lost her temper. "I'm not Superman, so I can't come up with solutions just like that. But you of all people should already be aware of that, Eleanor." Then, Eleanor's voice was raspy, maybe because she had just screamed. "Then, why?" "Because I thought it meant something." I knelt down as I spoke. Eleanor jumped and pulled away a bit, startled, but all I did was pick up a torn note at my feet. "These are notes about Avalon, aren't they?" One thing I've learned over the last 4 years is that there's a difference between accepting and rejecting what's happened in the past. Also, there's still the rather unsightly last-ditch effort. It takes a vast amount of energy to stay angry. Straining oneself screaming is part of that. Eleanor was exhausted from crying and exhausted from screaming, so she looked at me with a partially absent-minded look on her face. "For now, let's get out of that bath. It's silly." When I said that, Eleanor sniffed and rubbed her eyes. "Antera, this is what everyone does." I shrugged, then held a hand out to Eleanor. "Your hands are all messed up. Where's the first aid kit?" More than likely, her anger took complete hold of her as she went around tearing up and tossing away notes. Eleanor's hands were cut from all the paper. "Below the dresser." "Dresser? You mean this?" I found a decent first aid kit when I opened each of the drawers next to the large mirror. Taking some adhesive bandages from it, I pressed Eleanor to go into the next room. What a state to be in. That was meant for both the room and Eleanor, but she didn't say much of anything. Instead, she just did as I asked and sat quietly in the chair I just sat back on its feet. "You normally don't use this house?" I asked as I bandaged up her hands. "This is the second time I've come." Only twice to such a large home. I couldn't even imagine how much the rent on this place was. "So, you've been at the hotel all this time?" Eleanor nodded without speaking. "It was like she grew up 1 year for each finger I bandaged. From a 5-year-old to a sensible young woman. Maybe that was why she was still out of it. After I'd finished bandaging her hands, I'd only put 10 bandages on. You're really going to throw the notes away? Eleanor was looking at her hands as she was wearing some kind of avant-garde gloves when I asked her. Then, when she looked up and around the room, it looked like she might burst into tears again. Let's gather them up. She nodded silently at my words. The silver lining of the situation was that Eleanor hadn't ripped the notes into tiny pieces. They were bundled and torn, then flung away. Then she tore more. Since she'd done it like that, the pages fell in bundles, so they didn't look impossible to recover. The pages were numbered, and Eleanor could figure out the next page just by reading a bit of the content on the previous one, so I gathered up the majority of the pages flung against the wall in her blind rage. There were 5 volumes in total, with about half of the pages of the main portion still intact. I think I would have liked to see how you looked when you were tearing these up. When I said that, Eleanor went bright red and made a face as if she had swallowed a rock. Then as she continued to work on the pages on hand, she spoke. You truly are cruel. I thought that'd cheer you up. Eleanor looked at me. It did. That's great. I said that brazenly. While I was on my way over here, the news was still nothing but Susie Woo. Eleanor didn't show much of a reaction, but stayed silent, smoothing the creases out of the pages without looking up. Just like you said, the eye of the world is pretty focused hard on her. If so, I think... Now as the focus is on you, then you can come out saying that you are Susie Woo and explain that you are doing this because Avalon is so suspicious. That would be the last-ditch effort? One of them. Eleanor turned her vision from me back to the paper in hand and smoothed the creases out of the pages as she spoke. When the company grandfather left me in charge of went under, I set things into motion in various places trying to expose Iceman's wrongdoings. Are you aware of how they transgressed? The reason why Eleanor's eyes appeared lifeless was probably because she was looking back into the past. From the wayside, it's fairly obvious that what Iceman is doing is quite unusual, but such a thing means nothing to others. The media is a business in and of itself, so they chose to go with some self-indulgent terror noble got ruined. That type of thing strikes better over here. I recalled the tone of the articles on Eleanor when I'd searched for them. It was just as she'd said. That's how things were if you thought about it normally. Eleanor took things to extremes when she was decisive, but she did at least know how to act on stage. She tried the legal methods and they failed, which was probably why she ended up becoming Susie Woo. Eleanor sighed dejectedly and spoke. It's all showbiz. If I were to go out there now, it would be uncouth, and I'd just be made a laughingstock. So, what would this other last-ditch effort be? Eleanor inquired as I was feeling depressed about the sad state of affairs on the moon. A straight-on frontal assault. We throw all the information into the legal system. Into a legal system that would accept a fictitious individual who would open a bank account and invest? It wasn't that it was completely meaningless for her to tear up all the notes and cry in the bathroom. That was all she could do. That was how dismal things had become. Better than doing nothing. I spoke that as if I were muttering. That may be true. Eleanor said that as well. Then, when she looked at the paper piled high because of the wrinkles, she revealed what resembled a smile on her face. Plus, doing something does serve as a fine distraction. It's important in calming down. Eleanor suddenly fell silent. When she looked over at me, she seemed like she was about to burst into tears again. Are you being facetious? Then she said that. For a few moments, I wasn't sure what she was asking me, but by the time I realized it, my shoulders were already shaking and I was close to laughing. For a second there, I thought he didn't know what facetious meant. You looked rather wonderful screaming. Eleanor's eyebrows furrowed like she was holding off a headache, and she pouted as she returned to reassembling the papers. Meanie. I just shrugged. Then we went on unwrinkling the papers together for a bit and worked on arranging them, but the room was just too quiet. All the usual furniture was in the room, so naturally there was a monitor on the wall. Can I turn on the TV? I do not mind. Susie Wu is still being beaten on. She's dead. I see. They may release some new facts. Like her measurements? Holding a deep grudge against the media, Eleanor said something that the public would probably eat up. In fact, given the animosity of the media, the possibility of them addressing that topic doesn't seem so far off. We turned on the TV, then returned to work. Right off the bat, it showed Susie Wu's appearances on past programs. I spoke as I watched that unfold. So exactly how high did it go? Eleanor smiled and tilted her head without pausing. Perhaps you mean my hair? Yes, your hair. Eleanor giggled and I shrugged my shoulders. Time flew and soon it was noon. Eleanor wanted to order something and remembering Legoffus suggested him. Eleanor seemed a bit shocked by my proposal, perhaps because she herself had forgotten about him. When important people remain by your side too long, you can sometimes forget when they weren't there. At least that's what I thought. The media was basically just repeating the same thing over and over, so partway through Eleanor appeared to not put up a bold front, but to simply lose interest. They could just say what they wished. I had the truth here. And more importantly, there were others besides myself who knew. Eleanor's eyes met mine as we worked, laughing bashfully at each other as if to confirm that. There really was meaning behind me coming. Even if I had done nothing new, even if I didn't provide any type of solution, there was meaning behind me being here. At around 3 p.m., the majority of the papers had been restored. Though when I say restored, I pretty much mean just the obvious stuff. There were still the detailed bits left to do. Even so, was back to the state where she knew what she had done up to this point. I felt that was good enough. Then I suppose the last effort will be to submit it to the legal systems. As I watched TV absent-mindedly, Eleanor brought in some coffee and asked me that. I thought she'd gone out of her way to fix me a cup. Turns out she had it delivered from the cafe downstairs. I think that's fine. I do feel rather reluctant to submit it, though, knowing how unreliable they are. That's not the sort of thing I expect to hear from someone who went to the ends of the moon. My. Eleanor smiled and took up her cup. It's really quite unfortunate, though. I think I really would have liked to see Susie Wu waving around the evidence documents as she denounced Avalon on TV. But I strained my throat from all that yelling. It is quite difficult just to express something to someone. When I said that, still watching the monitor, I suddenly felt eyes on me. Of course, there was no one else who could be but Eleanor, smiling as she looked at me. What is it? No, just... I feel it's quite true. Eleanor put down her coffee cup and looked at the screen. To convey something to someone takes passion, courage, and the faith to believe something so silly isn't so silly. I had done nothing but advocate stock brands, but it was quite eye-opening. The solid reactions came from things I felt strongly about and spoke of with emotion, not necessarily things backed up with numbers. Really? Why yes. Didn't you revise Chris's program when you saw that the market moves by feeling? Well, yes, I did. But that's how it is. By allowing the machine to run free, that's all it ended up being. In the first place is, Eleanor Schweitzer inadequate for this? It would be out of character for me to run around screaming. She said that with a nod of her head. But I do believe that at some point there will be a person who could go on a rampage. There don't seem to be many with a voice as loud as Susie Wu's, though. Honestly, which is it, Haru? Are you trying to make me give up or not? I raised my hands up to my shoulders. Sorry. I did all I could. Everything I was able to. Thought everything I could think. I even went to the ends of the moon to be certain. Of course, I am sad. We can only part way, though. On the brink of crying, Eleanor tried to hold back her tears, but a few did fall. Excuse me. With that, she flung herself into the bathroom. I didn't call out to her, assuming she'd return soon. She should have just let it all out, just as she had done everything she could. That's what I thought as I looked at the TV. The special feature arbitrarily labeled the fallen guardian deity the people ended, and a report on the energy crisis played as though it was an intermission piece. There was no change here either, with the front of Avalon's headquarters still crowded with people. But something seemed different from the last few days, so I paid close attention to the video. What could it be? As I wondered that, the video switched to a close-up of part of the crowd. Then, as it showed someone in profile waving his arms around and leading the people, the video became a still image. It was like an old Baroque painting, with his mouth stretched wide open as though he were roaring, and with his fists clenched with all his might. I felt I had seen that face before. That still frame was enlarged even further with a ticker light out beneath it. Presidential candidate Fidel Gazaniga T. Oh. Spacing. Presidential candidate Fidel Gazaniga, the young politician that cried out for the people. I remember that he'd been made a laughingstock when he made an appeal to give housing to all lunar immigrants. What surprised me wasn't that he was making rounds here. Not that at all. It was because I recalled my conversation with Eleanor. Someone impassioned, with a loud voice, who had people's attention and could believe that his foolish dream isn't all that foolish. That was why he could raise his fist against a mega conglomerate with such fury. I was at a loss for words over how stupid I was. I'd been in shock while revising Chris's program when she focused so hard on a single number that she missed the big picture. Yet I myself had seen nothing. Even as I brooded over their suspicious sales, I believed with such triumphant airs, looking at things in reverse, yet I had missed something as simple as this. Susie Wu had died. There's no other analyst that could take her place. But that wasn't the problem. Striking down Avalon was for the sake of justice. Also, there's more than just one fool on the moon with a screw loose fighting for justice. I stood from my chair, knocking my coffee cup onto the floor and shattering it. But that didn't matter to me. Without using my cane, I dragged my foot along, reaching for the door connected to the bathroom as if I were diving for it. When I pulled the door open without knocking, Eleanor, who'd been wiping her tears, looked at me stunned. Eleanor. Yes? Please get ready. What? Haru? I then spoke words I would likely would never utter again. There may actually be a god. I looked back over at the TV and was listing all the battles that Fidel Gazaniga, the politician who cried out for the people, had fought up until now. The image on screen showed him climbing up the flagpole in front of Avalon's headquarters, yelling something to the people. Susie Wu certainly paled in comparison to that intensity. I put out my hand. Eleanor looked at me. Come with me. Eleanor then took my hand, tucked the hem of her skirt, and dashed out. Eleanor's methodology after deciding what needed to be done was magnificent. It was a matter of taking the proper lines to reach the proper course to the proper locations. For example, rather than skimming through the phone book to call Fidel's office, she enlisted Legoff to do so without hesitation. It seemed that they had contacted his office from Terra. The true power of European nobles with a 500-year history could well lie in their connections. If he's not taken into custody, he'll meet us shortly. Eleanor said that, holding the receiver in one hand. For a moment, I wasn't sure what she meant by that, but when Eleanor pointed at the monitor, I saw that he was being pulled down the flagpole by a security guard. It appears the police are taking notice of him now. I know I was the one who brought it up, but are you sure he's the right person? I certainly do wonder which dream is bolder. In the face of that comment, I could do nothing but hang my head. After that, Eleanor said something into the phone and ended the call. We can keep going forward. I'm not sure if we can reach our destination, though. When I said that, Eleanor shook her head. No, I'm done with that. Haru, you came to where I was. Someone reached their hand out to me. It's enough that someone believes in me. Of course, I'm gambling everything on Fidel Gazaniga cooperating with us. There are things we still need to do to make that happen. Eleanor had just as much impact as Susie Wu when she stuck out her chest. even without doing her hair up and patting her bra. Meeting. When I asked, Eleanor gave me a wry smile as she pointed to the restored notes. If there is anything else, if there really is something else, I want to go over them once again. The 40 billion won deficit. I wish to avoid the remorse of someone uncovering it later and wondering why they didn't see it for themselves. It's somewhat perplexing. Would you? Eleanor asked me that just then, but it felt to me like Eleanor's usual coyness. Only until my contract is up. Eleanor smiled a girlish, innocent smile at my reply. I look forward to working with you. We then settled in, poring over the data on pages, exchanging thoughts and examining the data when ideas came up. Ideas like confronting them with the false accounts of the sales of those vacant generation stations, as well as how the non-existent generators have been producing the energy they should, thus pushing prices up. With that in mind, it was easy to see how they could keep making such huge profits from the energy trade market. That being because Avalon knows exactly how much they lie about the energy they produce, so they should have had much more detailed information about energy demand than any of their clients. Gambles were, all in all, about having more viable information than anyone else. Their huge profit was directly proportional to the size of their gamble. I was probably very concentrated on this conversation. When I came back to my senses, I realized the cup I knocked over and shattered had been cleaned up. Then, when the sun started to set and the chill of evening began to creep in, a call came from Fidel. Eleanor had taken the call from Legoff, giving a courteous greeting, and informed him that we were on our way to his office. Eleanor's face after ending the call was truly impassioned. Let us be off. Eleanor left the room, holding the torn pages dearly in her arms. I followed her and saw Legoff in the entry hall, awaiting her stoically. Master and servant, tradition and formalities. Eleanor had come this far to protect their reputation. As I gazed upon the two of them, I let out a sigh of awestruck adoration. There is a driver waiting, so let us descend. With a placid smile, Eleanor turned back towards me. It felt as if we were heading off to the opera. If the concept of pleasant stress existed, that must have been it. I thought that as I prepared to enter the elevator after Eleanor. Just then, I got an incoming call on my tablet. A call. My tablet screen showed an unfamiliar number. I exchanged glances with Legoff and Eleanor as they waited in the elevator. We'll go ahead and have the driver wait. Eleanor smiled placidly, and the elevator doors closed. I pressed accept and switched to caller mode. Hello. I called out, throwing caution to the wind. The voice on the other end of the line made me feel as though the world was reverberating. Hey, long time no see. A low, powerful baritone. I stood upright. Been about 4 years. It was a call from Barton Cledvison.